And in this part of the KO2 tutorial series, I want to take a look at how to select sounds and how to edit sounds. If you don't want to record your own sounds and select from the ones that are already on the device, all you have to do is press a pad and then press sound, and now this pad lights up and I'm in the sound selection menu. I can press plus or minus to move through the sounds that I have. I can also press shift and plus, and you'll see it moves in tens. Or I press sound and enter a number, and I get straight to the number that I've entered. Let's find a sample that makes sense editing. Yeah, this one maybe. So you can see sound is still lit up, which means we are still in the sound menu. If we want to get out of this, we can press main, and now we're at our main screen. But let's stay in the sound menu for a while. It will always highlight which sound we have on this pad, so that is sound number 23. If I press another pad, it will show me the number of the sample right there. And while we're in this sound menu, we can change the volume of the sample with this knob and the pitch with this one right here. I believe it goes an octave down and an octave up. And when this flashes, we're back at the normal pitch. So these are the most basic editing parameters of a single sound. And again, they affect only this pad right here. I could, for example, have the same sound on this pad, 32, and have it have a different pitch, but this one has the original pitch. So you can have the same sample on different pads and affect it in different ways. Okay, now let's get to the next layer of sound editing. By pressing Shift and Sound, here it says edit, we can edit the sound further. And in the sound edit menu, we have different submenus. If we press plus and minus, we can toggle through them. The first submenu on the very left side, so to speak, is our sound menu that defines how the sound is being played. We can turn the X knob and turn it to 1, which means it will play the whole sample no matter how long I press the key for. And also the sample will cut itself off if I press it again. And the next mode you can select here is the key mode. As you can tell, it only plays the sample for as long as I'm holding the key, keeping in mind that the envelope settings, which we'll get into later, will also have an effect on this. But in key mode, not only does it change for how long it's playing the sample, depending on how long I hold the pad, but I can also play it polyphonically by going into keys mode. If I press this button here, the currently selected sample will be spread across all of my pads, and I can play it at different pitches. So let's go into that. Now my original note is right here, and it goes up in pitch and down in pitch. I can also change the octave of the keyboard by holding the keys button and pressing plus. You see I go up an octave, or pressing minus, and so on. Also, now since the sound is set to keys mode, I can also play it polyphonically, so multiple notes at a time. And the last play mode that I can select with the orange knob is the legato mode. That means if I play a note and before I release this, I play the next one, it will continue playing from the point that the sample was at, but it will do so at a different pitch. So it will not interrupt the sample playing, it will just pitch it down while it's playing or pitch it up while it's playing. Let's turn the play mode back to key mode and get out of the chromatic mode. And of course there's also a function on the black knob right here, and when we're in this sound key edit menu we can change the panning of the sound. That's, I think, a bit hidden, so it's important to know. Simple as that, panning. And this panning can not be recorded into the sequence. That's important. So all of these parameters that are within this shift and sound edit menu cannot be recorded and live tweaked into the sequencer. And next submenu in the sound edit menu is the trimming section. As you can see, it switched from this little note to the trimming icon. And that of course means that we can trim our sample, meaning change the start and the end point. Start point here, end point there. As easy as that. If I want to fine-tune the start and the end point, I can hold Shift while turning these, and I will move in smaller increments than when I release it. So that is pretty nice that you can do that. And same for the end point. And the next submenu is the envelope menu, where we can change the attack and the release. So if I turn the attack up, my sound will slowly fade in. If I turn it down, the sound is there immediately. And here we've got the release. Right now it's on the lowest setting, which means there is no release. My sound immediately stops as I lift my finger. But if I turn up the release, it takes the sound a little while to fade out after I release it. And next submenu, accessed via the plus button, is the time stretch menu. Time stretch means you take a sample and you change its length it plays for without changing the pitch of it. By default, time stretching is deactivated, but if I turn this knob right here, I can change it to BPM or to bar. When it's set to BPM, with the black knob, you can change the BPM that you think this original sample is, and it will then automatically stretch it to the tempo of the current song. So the BPM you select here should be the original BPM of this sample. But also with a sample where it doesn't really matter, you can just play around with it and see what happens. And you can hear that there's some graininess introduced when you do so. And now it's playing a lot faster. And when you turn the X knob to the bar mode, this means now that the time stretch will automatically stretch your sample to fit in a certain time division of your project tempo. So you can select the time division with the black knob. And so on and so forth. So it will completely elongate or shrink it to fit within a certain measure. And as I said, all of this will introduce some graininess to your sound. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it can sound really nice, but for now, let's turn off time stretch again. And the next menu we can access is the MIDI menu, and this allows you to send and receive MIDI messages, which means that you could, for example, play the chromatic sound on a keyboard that has more notes, so you don't have to skip back and forth between the octaves, because here you only have 12 notes, which is quite limiting to play that at once and then have to skip up and down through the octaves. So that's one reason to use this. Of course, you can also control other devices with this. Because the KO2 has velocity sensitivity, you can use this as your drum controller for something external, for example. Many use cases there, I'm not going to go into detail. And the settings we can make here are selecting the MIDI channel with the orange knob and selecting the root node of your sample, so of the currently selected pad with this encoder right here. And finally, the last menu is the mute group selection, and this allows you to select which of the pads in this group will cut each other off when playing. Right now, none of them are selected because these are flashing, but if I select this pad and this pad, now they are in a mute group. If I go back to my main screen now and play this pad, you can hear it will play for quite long, but if I press this and then that, it will cut each other off. So that's what a mute group is, and you can put all of the sounds or all of the pads in a mute group or only some of them. It depends on what you want to use it for. And that's already it for all the parameters that you can edit on a per pad basis. I hope you enjoyed the video, hope you learned something. If you want to learn more, feel free to contact me for private online lessons. Link down in the description or probably somewhere up there. Hope to see you in the next one. Until then, have a wonderful time. Peace.